Alright, so we've now got a base model that we can sculpt on top of, and that's what we are going to do. So I'm going to go back to my sculpt section here, and if you look, our thing goes all the way from level 0 up to level 3. Okay, so what I would suggest is, maybe start with, let's say level, not level 0. I'm going to start maybe with, we'll do level 2. Now, if I sculpt directly on this, it's going to apply it to my model, but it's going to be on the model itself. Instead, what we can do is add layers, right? So I'm going to click to add a new layer, and we'll just call this adjustments, okay? And this is just where I make my adjustments and such. Now, I don't really need to do too much as far as this is concerned, because I kind of already did that when I did the other part. But I have that there. Now, I'm going to go to my sculpting, and you're going to have to do this now to switch it. Make sure you scroll all the way down, go to tessellation. Yeah, come on. Make sure it's off. Apparently it's off now. Make sure that is off. Also make sure mirroring X is on. And then what I'm going to do, basically, is I'm just going to kind of smooth this out with my pen. I'm going to smooth. I'm just going Shift to smooth. And I am, just because he's a little bit lumpy-dumpy, and I'm just going to kind of hold Shift to smooth some of this out here. And like I said before, I'm just going to concentrate just on his torso, because I don't want to I don't want to spend too much time on any, one particular thing. So I'm going to kind of concentrate more or less on just that aspect of it. Okay. So from here, I'm still on this adjustment, so I could make this a little bigger. I'm going to use where do you bulge? Oh, it lost all my settings. Oh, that's dumb. Okay. I think because it crashed. So I'm just going to go ahead and basically just do some, I'm on sharp, make sure I'm on the more middle ground one. And I am just going to basically further I'm going to put W off because I don't really need that. Further define, so I do a stroke and then I smooth. That's pretty much the secret to sculpting. Do a stroke, hopefully one that works, not like that one. Do a stroke, and then smooth, and I'll put an elbow there. I'm just going to hold Shift and smooth. We'll smooth this out, and then this needs to bleed a little bit more into his pec area. So I'm getting some good kind of striations from the deltoid, which goes well with my kind of bony looking guy. And then we'll just going to kind of sculpting this to the next kind of level here, right? Okay, so, I'll just kind of fix anything in here on this level. Now, just a reminder that, you see how it says L2? So when we first made the layer, it wasn't locked, but as soon as you start sculpting, it's locked on that layer. The nice thing is, because it's on the layer, I can go ahead and I can remove it. Because I didn't do too awful much there, right? I can pull it down. I can also use the eraser, which is eraser, and that will erase whatever I did on that layer. Or I can turn the layer off, or I could just right-click and just delete that layer altogether, okay? That's why the layers are good, because basically it's like a non-destructive way of working, and that is obviously beneficial. So, that is good. I'm going to call that layer good. So then I'm just going to hit page up, which will go to the next level. And then what I'm going to do is say that that's not good enough. I want to do another level. But if I hit page up, you're going to see it's not going to go anywhere because there's only that many subdivision levels. So it made 3 for us, which is great. I'm going to go ahead and hit Shift D. Shift D adds a subdivision level. So now it says level 4. You can also do it over here. If you go to Mesh, to go up and down levels are right here, and to add a new subdivision level is here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that is fine and dandy. So now I'm on level 4. I'm gonna go ahead and make a new one, and I'll just call this like details. We'll say. Okay. And in here, I'm just gonna start adding some more stuff. So I'm just gonna smooth this out a little bit, just because there's little lumpies and bumpies from when I did the other thing. Which to some degree, I kind of like them because it looks like imperfection of skin, which is great. But in some ways I don't. Okay, so let's just go. What am I on? Oh, I'm on eraser. Oops. That's why I wasn't doing anything. And then I'm just going to... Alright. Okay, so we'll call that good. And now in this one, I can just add more details and such, right? So make sure I'm on my sculpt one. And so here, what I'm going to do is add, let's see, I got that's good. I'm going to use this thing, actually, no, I'll leave it on this one. And I'm just going to add, like, you know, some skin wrinkles here, just to give you an idea. Make this smaller, and hit M, so B and M. And I am just going to kind of sculpt kind of wrinkles here, just so that it has that sort of flavor to it. I can also add some veins. All right, I'm just going to smooth it out after, just to give it kind of that realistic kind of look. I highly suggest if you're doing anything that's got any sort of anatomy sense to it, you should look up stuff with, you know, like look up veins of people's arms and see what they look like, and use that kind of as a guide, so that you're not just making things up, because it will look super fake. Just going to add some kind of wrinkles underneath here a little bit. Again, it might be kind of cool if he was a little bit kind of saggy, but I don't want to get too carried away with it. But and then after that, so imagine I did like a good job, which I know is not easy. I'm going to go ahead and use this one, and this will allow me to crease it. So if I hold Control, if you remember, that is cut in. So I'm going to hold Control, and then I'm just going to kind of cut this in, and I'm just going to add kind of the striations here of his muscle. So I hold Control, and I am kind of cutting in over and over, and then I hold Shift just to smooth it out, because generally speaking, it will have like it'll look a little dotty and what have you. So it's not very good. So I'm just going to kind of cut this muscle in right there, right, and then I'm just going to hold Shift to smooth it. Shift to smooth it, and then we can kind of give this a little bit more form where his tricep is. So I'm just going to go like this, and then Shift to smooth, hold Control, right, and then Shift to smooth, that kind of thing. And then we can kind of maybe give them more detail here, all right. All right. All right, and then maybe I'm just going to give them like a little bit of a belly button there. All right, so you can kind of see, right, maybe, you know what, I'm going to go more middle tier here. Maybe give them like, let's make this a little bit bigger. A little more hints of a rib cage. My guy is hungry. Dobby is hungry. Okay. That should be flattened out. All right, so make sure he's got his clavicle still going there. All right. So you can kind of see, right, he's got, this looks bad. Put sort of that stuff in there. Now, from there, you know, so you put in sort of that stuff. Kind of want him to be like this skinny, scrawny kind of guy. You put in that sort of stuff, right? And then what we'll do when you're done with that, oh, I should give him areolas, I forgot about that. But then after that, I would go up more subdivision levels. So I'll hit Shift D, which will get me to 5. Hopefully. Did it do it? Okay, it's trying to do it. All right, so I'm going to save this again. Control S. I'm a little bit worried I won't be able to go up any higher. You should be able to get to level 6. I'm going to try level 6 and hit Shift D again. And this is where I'm going to put like the uber detail in. Now, whether it's going to be capable of doing that, oh, I didn't, okay, Shift D. Whether it's going to be capable of doing that, I'm not entirely sure. Hopefully it can. Okay, and it did. Great. Okay, so now what we're going to do is let me see how responsive it is. It's not too bad. Okay, you should be able to get to 7. It's very unlikely you'd be able to get to 8 unless you have like, you know, and we'll call this like texture, right? It's very unlikely that you'd be able to do anything beyond 7, but you might be able to. So if you remember, we have these stamps and stencils. Now we haven't really played around with those because we haven't done anything textural yet. So the stamps basically work the same way that you would see like Photoshop, where there's an alpha channel to it. So I'm going to use this one and use it to basically just create some wrinkles. I like this one. It usually works pretty well. So with that selected, I'm just going to have the regular old sculpt and B and M, make it a lot smaller, and actually make that a little bit smaller. I'm going to hold Control, and we should, okay, maybe it needs to be a little bit stronger. Oh, that's N, sorry. Okay, there it goes. Okay. I think it wasn't on a brush or something. Okay. Currently undo makes it very upset. Okay. So let's go M and okay, more like that. And we're gonna make it a little bit smaller. Okay. And then I'm just gonna I can kind of use this to more or less create, you know, like if you look underneath your neck, it's like just, it's lagging a little bit. You usually will see kind of these lines, right? So this is really good if you're trying to do like those micro wrinkles where you would see them, you know, so generally like around joints and such, where there's a lot of tension, you might see. Someone's holding Control, so it cuts in. I can't, it's just not responsive. So you can use those in that manner, right? So they have all these different ones, you can try them out. Some other ones that are good is, like, let's say I use this, and then let's say I want to do like a follicles looking thing, right? I don't know if maybe this one will be better. We'll do this one. I can hit randomize, right? And then I can take the stamp spacing, sorry. And if we do, let's say around 50%, and then I'll hold Control, and it'll kind of do that. But I want to show you something. If I don't do randomize, come on, turn off. So I don't know if it's not as obvious there. Let me do a different one that would be a little more obvious. Let's say I want to do like a cool texture on my guy, right? And let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay. It's going to look very repeaty, okay? Especially if I take the spacing down, which, see how it looks very streaky? Doesn't look very good. If I take the spacing up, what it's going to do is that it's going to repeat after each stroke a little bit more. So right on 50% is what you want. If I do randomize on top of it, it rotates it and scales it, and it does all those things on multiple ones. So actually, let's not do that. I think I want to do it this way, right? Yeah, this is better. And then I can get this kind of cool texture. I can paint it right on the guy. Hopefully you can see it, which is pretty cool. So you could get like this neat, depending on what you're trying to make, this neat texture on your guy. So if you want to use any of these, you can. You can see they have all sorts of different ones. You can also import your own by clicking on this, and then you can add a stamp, and you just grab a picture, and then you use it, and that would be what you're using. Okay, so that's the stamp tool. It's pretty useful, yada, yada, yada. So I'm going to turn that back off by clicking on off. Now the stencil can also be cool. So I said before, this guy's got rock hard abs, right? So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to use this guy. Okay, so when you click on these, what it's going to do is it's actually, let me do this quick too. I want to make sure my fall off is this one, just the regular. What this does basically is you're going to shoot through it. So if you look over here, it actually tells you the hotkey. So it's S. So if I do S and, okay, S, that's S. Why you no work? Hang on a second. S, middle mouse button, right, there it goes. Okay, I don't know. It's weird. Okay. I can make it smaller, and you can rotate it. So it's middle, S, middle, left, and right mouse button, and that's how you control how it looks. Now, you can also do this. So if I go back to Stencil, if I click on it here so I get the settings, you can see Use Tiles is an option, and that's super handy because otherwise what will happen is when you get to the edge, you can see it. But if you have Use Tiles, as long as it's seamless, you won't see it as much. Although this one is not seamless. They didn't, whatever, but that's fine. So then all I can do is, like, again, I'm just going to use a sculpt here. I can just go ahead and basically sculpt my awesome rocky whatever pattern here, right? So that's pretty neat. Okay. And they have different ones in here as well. So I just hit Q to turn it off because it's big. Come on, Q. You're going to do it? Q. Q. Is it going to do it? Oh, turn it back on randomly. There it goes. Let's hit W back off. Okay. So yeah, and that's not. And if you hit Q, it'll turn it back on for me. Okay. But so you can use these as well. These are particularly good if you're trying to do, like, they have this nice come on, elephant skin that you can use if you're trying to do like a creature or something. I like. They even have one for ear, although this ear doesn't really work. But they have these different ones, and it's pretty handy. I like to use the show tiles, though, in particular. Just remember, if you want to get the settings bar, you have to click on it here, then it'll pop up. Otherwise, it's going to show whatever the last thing is that you clicked on. Like I just clicked on sculpting, okay? So I'm just going to turn that back off, and there you go. So at this point, I should have my model... he's got his sculpting on him, okay? Now, the next thing to do would be to... So I would go through and I would obviously do a nicer job and do the whole 9 yards here. But after this would be texturing. Now, one of the things that we didn't do that we should have done were the UVs. So normally what I would do is I would export out the model. Sorry. I export out the model, and then I would UV it in Maya and then bring it back in. This does have a UVing thing. It's just not very good. But for sake of purposes and things, what we can do is just go ahead and UV this guy up. Okay, so go to UVs and maps, and then you can do create UVs. It might have to be on the lowest level. Yeah, got to step down to the lowest level. So page down, all the way down till you get to level 0. So page down. Come on. It's going to be kind of slow because it does go a little bit faster each time you go down, and it is faster to go down than up, but it still surprisingly takes time. Page down, level 4. They start going a little bit quicker now. There we go. And to level 0. Okay, now I'll go UVs and create UVs. We're just going to create one UV tile and generating UVs. It's going to say not responding, and I can save it, so that's always good. Whenever you do an operation, you should always save it. Unless you're me, then you like to walk on the wild side. There it goes. Now, UVs are terrible, so just be aware of that. So, for instance, if I go ahead and I don't know what's going on here. Can I click on it? If I go, okay, maybe I gotta UV, flatten UV space. This is what it does. So it's like it's like worse than an automatic map. Now there are UVs now and everything, but unfortunately, it's not really the best case scenario. So that's why it's better to do them outside of here. So anyway, we're gonna unflatten from UV space, and then we will go to Object, click on the human, click off the human. There we go. All right. So okay, it's handsome. All right. So we have the UVs done now, and now we can start painting. Okay. But I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and page up, page up, page up. Let's go to like level. Let's see, can I get to level 5 without it being terrible? You know, level 4 seems like that is good enough. So I'm actually going to stay at level 4 because I don't feel like level 5 is gaining me that much. But you don't need to go all the way to the highest level to paint your textures because it's not going to gain you that much. You could probably go to 2 levels below what your max is, and it probably looks good enough. Like you can see, I can still actually even see like some of the details, just because you're going to get a lot more performance. See how quickly I can shake it? If I go to level 6, it's going to be really slow. So in the next video, what we'll do is we will paint the character, and then he'll be good to go. All right, so that is on the next one.